Okay, great. Calling the meeting to order of the Taft Local School Council regarding the discussion of the whole school safety plan and the resulting vote. Can we get a roll call, Miss Keeling?
Yes, Anita Bernacki.
Here.
Mary Kay Cobb.
Here.
Julieta Pasco.
Here.
Chrissy Estrada.
Here.
Kathy Fern.
Here.
Monica Moore. No Monica. Chris Raguso. Laura Keeling, I'm here. Maria McDormand.
Here.
Bridget Doherty Trebbing.
Here.
Scott Plensner.
Here.
Amelia Mano.
Here.
And Mark Grishaber.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda?
This is Anita. I'll make an motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it, Maria.
All right, roll call vote for approving the agenda.
Anita Bernacki.
Yes.
Mary Kay Cobb.
Yes.
Julieta Pasco.
Yes.
Chrissy Estrada.
Yes.
Kathy Fern.
Yes.
Laura Keeling, yes. Maria McDormand.
Yes.
Bridget Doherty Trebbing.
Yes.
Scott Plensner.
Yes.
Amelia Mano.
Yes.
And Mark Grishaber.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we moved the public participation portion ahead of the vote, but I wanted the LSC to go ahead and open up the discussion amongst the LSC only regarding the safety plan as it has been presented to us. Mr. Grishaber, are you going to be the point person with questions, or is Kat on the line, or if we had any questions regarding the plan as it's been written?
I think I can answer most questions.
Is Kat here?
I don't see her, but I'm pretty familiar with the plan, so I think I can answer all of them.
Okay. All right, so would anyone on the LSC has any discussion points they'd like to bring up? Is there anything further? We did discuss it at length at both the safety meeting, the general meeting that we just had. Any points that need to be reviewed or any questions amongst the LSC?
I suppose I have a quick question. Just to review, how much money was attached to this if we chose to, for the SROs, not to approve all 4 SROs? Just to review that. I forgot what that was.
I believe it's $50,000 per officer.
Yeah. Yeah, so that,
50,000.
yeah, so it would be, if we didn't approve 1, it would be 50,000, 2 would be 100, 3, 150, 4, $200,000. That's a 1-year stipend that they would give to schools.
Were those earmarked for certain expenditures?
Nope, not that we know of. The
Okay.
only thing I know about that, it was just for 1 year though.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
I could speak to that. Actually, several of us attended an information session that was hosted by CPS last month. And they were clear about those funds were to be used to implement the sort of details of the whole school safety plan. And they were also clear about that this was not a one-time amount of money, that this would be something that would become annual.
So at the meeting, it was earmarked. Who was running that meeting? Because I didn't attend that.
Jadine Chow, who is safety and security with CPS, and then LSC relations.
Bridget, I have one question for Bridget. When Jadine Chow said that it would be every year, how do you know how she phrased that? Because I tried to nail her down on that a couple of times. Like, will we get this every year? And I tended to get the answer that right now the only thing we can guarantee is this year. That she didn't say no for the next years, but she didn't say yes either. I'm wondering how you interpreted it.
Our chair, Ms. Fern, shared with us all the documents from those meetings, and it was in writing in those documents.
I'm going to see if I can open that up.
Yeah, because I'd like to know whether it was like you will receive that every year or we're working on that, we're thinking about that. Because I've yet to get confirmation that it's every year.
While we're doing that, I have another question on the SEL portion of the safety plan. At the last meeting, we discussed this too. I asked a definition of what that was. Do you think that with the money that we have now, that we could properly fund the SEL agenda that you've laid out in the safety plan?
I do right now, Scott. I think the biggest expenditure would be the social worker, and I think we've earmarked $100,000 for that. That would be a social worker probably in the mid of their career as the most. I mean, we don't have it earmarked for a first year social worker, so we did give some leeway in case we found a really good one that maybe with 5 or 6 years of social work behind them. The other ones really aren't not. I mean, you know, I was looking at an additional security officer, and so we got that one funded too. So those are the main two, and I've already got those funded. And again, I've got them funded and earmarked for year after year. It's not like a one-year deal.
Would the social worker work at both campuses?
We've yet to determine that right now. The only thing we know about that social worker right now is that social worker cannot alleviate any of the load of our other social workers. That those social workers would be kind of on our dime, if you will. So, and that's what makes it so attractive is we can, and we've always talked about our social workers taking care of our kids that are not DL or EL kids. And that's where we see the biggest need is that our social workers don't seem to have the time to do that with our really large caseload that we have for the social workers. So this one would be for our students. And so, like I said, it would be for groups and any way we see fit, not for me to decide, but we would decide that as a committee, where we want to use that resource.
Yeah, I was going to underline that about the groups being something that you found to be beneficial.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bridget, did I email that or did I send you guys a link to the Google Drive? Because I can't seem to locate it right now.
It was in email. Kathy, there were a couple of docs. Actually, there were like two versions of or two copies of one document that it was the same stuff that they shared with us at that meeting, but there was something else. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, I think I just found it. Hold on.
There may be PowerPoint documents.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was looking at, but I didn't see anything about the actual. Was it just said verbally? I didn't see anything in the text of it.
I was on that meeting too, and I really don't remember them saying that. That doesn't mean they didn't, but I don't remember. I just remember thinking in my head, this is probably not.
It's in there. I'll go back and find it.
Thank you.
Can we ask Luis that question right now? Luis, would you happen to know? Is that appropriate for us to ask you that right now, or you're more of a bystander?
Mark, I'm more of a bystander. This is something that comes out of Jay Dean's office.
Okay, good enough, Luis.
And I don't want to speak for safety and security.
Okay, good. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. That's why
Thank you for kindly asking.
Mm-hmm.
I did find the documents that I sent. It was 5 screenshots of the PowerPoint. I actually have the actual PowerPoint too, but I don't see where it says the money will be given either one time or annually.
I was at that meeting too, and she said that it was supposed to come every year, but there's no guarantee, is from what I recall her saying.
That's what I thought she said too.
Right. She said it's supposed to, but there's no guarantee. They could turn around and say, you know, in a year from now, no. So
I found it. I'm looking at it.
Okay.
It says note on budget. If the school wishes to trade in one or both SROs, the plan can consider alternate resources worth up to $50,000 per SRO position. There will be an annual budget review approval process every year, so schools can consider the trade-in as an ongoing resource and not just a one-time program. The other cool thing that's in here, it says additional funds above $50,000 will be reviewed based on the CPS equity index. I think that's for schools who might have plans for things where they want to pursue even additional money. It sounds like they will take that into consideration.
Okay. Is that PowerPoint that you're looking at?
Yep, it's on slide. It's the one that's titled, it says Final LSC Training May 2021 Whole School Safety Presentation. It's slide number 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I wasn't looking at one, number 4, 5, 8.
I don't know why this would be so hard to find it. Oh, here it is. Okay, got
Looks
it.
like it's slide number 11.
Okay.
For the record, I'd like to let everybody know that I did talk to Commander Begane at the 16th District, and I was asking her about the officers. And I said, would it be possible, because we're going to have this talk, whether the officers could dress down during the day and not be so, for lack of a better term, like police-like, to where they would be like a softer image. And her reply was absolutely not, that they consider that a safety issue and that they would be in all their tactical gear. She had also said, when we were speaking some more, she said that from her knowledge, officers cannot work alone. And I said, what do you mean by that? She goes, that's a safety issue too. We're adamant on officers not working alone in the school. I immediately contacted Jadine and said, Jadine, this is what I'm hearing from my office, or the commander at the 16th District. And she says, well, that's not the agreement we have with CPD. So she's going to have to get back to me on that one. And she hasn't got back to me, but Ms. Chow is very crowded, or very busy right now. But I just want to let everybody know that I did have that conversation.
Okay, so can you guys all see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay, you see note on budget in the lower blue box. That's what she was just reading. So
Okay.
I want everybody to see that. So it's an annual budget review approval process every year, not just a one-time program. Okay.
What I'm wondering is I don't know how this goes. I would just like information. I'm wondering if we traded in an officer, say this year for the 50,000, if we automatically gain that officer again next year to trade it in, or we have the option of trading in the other officer for the other 50,000. This is where I'm not clear on this at all. It doesn't seem.
So like if you can change it from year to year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
if
she
we
said
started-
no. She said no.
what-
She said
what-
if you get rid of one, you don't get them back.
See, that's what I'm thinking. This is the bottom here, is that they're like, well, yeah, next year, like if we traded in one, then next year we don't get 4 again, and we're going to cash one in for 50,000. I think this paragraph right now, the way I read it would be, then you have the options of the other 3, and then you have the options of the other 2. That's how I see it. And that's the reason why they have that in there. I think they're very intentional with the verbiage, and I believe that if it was you get all your officers back and then you can do it again, I think they would have said that. And the fact that they're not saying that and kind of putting in this kind of loopy language in there, it would appear to me that I wouldn't trust that, in my opinion, that we would get all 4 back.
I want to add, I think it's important context that I think like most of us on the LSC, I think know this or remember this, but just for the public who may not. So in August of 2020, Chicago Public Schools Board of Education passed a resolution asking the school district leadership to seek alternatives to the SRO program. So that came out of our Board of Education in August of last year. And then CPS has put out multiple statements about this. And I think I pulled this from this document, but CPS has said they're committed to reviewing and imagining a vision for the future of safety in our schools that considers the further reduction or even elimination of the SRO program. So for me as an employee of CPS, I've made note of what our Board of Education is saying and what our district is saying about, sort of ongoing approach to school safety.
This makes me wonder.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. This
Okay.
makes me wonder if in the future, if they just blanket carte blanche decide to get rid of the SRO program, if we lose out on that money. But it seems like the money's interesting right now. How can we make a decision when CPS doesn't tell us anything straight? But welcome to the LSC. Okay, cool.
Well, we're here to review the plan as it has been presented to us by the safety committee. So let me stop the share and then pull that up. I thought I had this all organized. I'm sorry.
You're doing great, Kathy.
There's just way too much material. Okay, here we go. Phase 1 recommendations. No, is this it? Kat, I know you're on the line now. It's the, I want to make sure I pull up the right plan here. This is the deck. What is the name of the document I'm looking for? I was looking at it the other day. Oh, that was the right one. Okay, that's this one. This one. Nope, that's not it either.
The Taft High School Whole School Safety Plan. It's a Microsoft Word doc.
And is that the one that I couldn't get in the folder and you sent me a zip file for? Because that's not in there.
No, it's a separate doc.
Kathy, it was in like the big folder for our regular June meeting. There was then a safety and
That's what I'm
security
doing. I'm looking.
subfolder.
I'm not
Yeah.
looking in June. Okay, that's where I'm screwing up here. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, Mark put it in that one.
I knew I had it up here. Here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, got it. Okay. Share the screen. Okay, can you guys see that? Yep, this is the one. Okay. So just a quick review. We looked at this already, but a lot of the general public probably hasn't seen this yet, so this is what we're voting on. Mark, you can help me kind of review just the recommendations here. Here's our vision statement. Taft High School will foster a positive climate where students and staff on both campuses feel safe, both physically and emotionally, and also feel welcomed, supported, and respected by others. Here's our strategies for the current state assessment. Looked at dashboard misconduct reports, attendance, ISS and OSS data, and 5 essentials survey results. We had safety and security meeting discussions and solicited feedback from the whole school safety committee. We also reviewed notes, emails, and transcripts from discussions and communications on safety and SROs during school year 21. And finally, we sent out a survey to all students, staff, and parents and posted for the general community to make all voices heard. Here's what is going well. Supportive school certification from the Office of Social and Emotional Learning, which reflects our commitment to social and emotional learning and providing a supportive environment for our students. Lower rates of ISS and OSS year over year since the implementation of restorative practices. I'm sorry, remind me again what ISS and OSS stand for, Kat? In school suspension, out of school suspension.
In school suspension, out of school suspension.
Okay. Majority are satisfied or very satisfied with physical safety, emotional safety, and relational safety at Taft. Strong counseling department team and strong relationships with community partners, as during school year 21, we have been able to offer or provide tier 2 and 3 supports to upwards of 200 students referred to the behavioral health team. And the 2019 5 Essentials survey reports that 91% of students feel safe in their classes and 89% say people at school are friendly to them. Here are the areas for improvement. We know that when students return to school in the fall, post-COVID-19, the need for mental health supports and mental health professionals will be greater than usual, as evidenced by the number of students who report isolation and depression or have disengaged from school. Only 65% of our students feel safe in the bathrooms at school. This is 13% lower than the district average. 26% of our teachers report students doing off-task things during instructional time. The district average is 17%. 64% of Taft teachers are concerned with disorder in the hallways. This is a concern for 39% of teachers district-wide, a 25% difference. 57% of teachers are concerned with students being disrespectful to them. Across the district is a concern for 43% of the teachers. This is a template that everyone received. Physical safety priorities, we're recommending decreased sense of disorder in the hallways and increase a higher sense of safety in the bathrooms. Emotional safety priorities, increase SEL and mental health services for students. Relational trust priorities, focus on community relationship building between teachers and students to increase levels of respect. And then phase 1 recommendations. Wait a minute, I skipped something here. This is the directions, recommendations. Okay, so priority 1, increase SEL supports and mental health services for students. New strategy, hire a social worker to provide SEL support and do skill building with students. Increase the number of community partner clinicians working at Taft. Animal assisted supports, Rainbow AAT. Kat or Mark, if you guys want to jump in with anything to add to this to give it some context, go right ahead. Priority number 2, building healthier community relationships between teachers and students to increase levels of respect. The strategy is to professional development related to restorative practices, trauma, community building, classroom management, facilitator-led lessons, activities and discussions, conflict resolution with students and teachers, revise and reinforce school-wide expectations, encouraging and incorporating student voice, and student skill building education. Priority 3, decreasing a sense of disorder in the hallways and increase a higher sense of safety in the bathrooms. The new strategy would be to add additional security. 1 VC is, what does that mean? To monitor hallways and bathrooms. 1
Varsity campus.
1 at the varsity camp, okay. And then the recommendation for our SROs is we recommend that our school retain 4 SROs and supplement with the above strategies for whole school safety. And that is the basic plan that we are voting on today. Any other discussion, comments, questions from the LSC?
I do find the poll results on respect to be interesting because I couldn't agree with that. I always felt respected by the students and vice versa, I would hope. So I'm kind of surprised at that, but hey, the poll is the poll.
I can speak to that. That information came directly from the 5 Essentials survey. But as you know, 2020 was kind of a wash. So it's 2019 data.
Oh, I see.
It's
So
1920 data, not 2021.
Does that include things like the bathroom stats?
Yes, yes. That's where those specific percentages came from.
Okay. Well, that makes more sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Even so.
I'm guessing all of it has gotten better in the last, 2 years. But I still, talking to people.
Well, perhaps I don't want the public to get this sense that the kids are walking around.
No, it's not. It's
harassing
not like,
us and stuff. It's not happening.
Not mayhem. No.
No, and there's not. The halls are pretty orderly. I mean, there's things that happen from time to time.
Just a lot of kids.
I've been at Taft a long time, and I remember different days, but
they're jubilant.
I got you. Well, it's good to know where the data comes from. Thank you.
And then this was a summary of the data that was collected during the safety survey that was done in May, I believe. Community members, you can see where the green is the not satisfied. So the community members, Mark, maybe you can even do your summary on this because it looks like community members had the highest rating of not satisfied, but they're the ones that really aren't in the school. But if you look at the teachers, their greens are very small compared to the reds are satisfied. The students are satisfied and the parents are satisfied.
Yeah, I'll just give you my take on it. It's anybody can have their own opinion on the community right now, but I've told the story too often that I'm probably boring people. But when I went up to Alaska in 1988, people were knew I was from Chicago, and they were asking me about Al Capone, and I'm like, you know, they're like machine guns in every corner, and so I think a lot of the community, when I read their comments, I believe it was from a false sense that people have of Taft from a time when we weren't like we are right now. I think some people are still holding on to that. I think in a way that I feel, again, my opinion, that some people like that persona of us, because then it justifies the fact that they're sending their kids to elsewhere, and they feel good about that. But I think the fact that the lowest satisfaction came from people that aren't even in our building, I think that says something. I mean, you got to really look at the parents. I mean, the teachers and the kids. I mean, I think that's the one that tells you the most, I think. But again, when I looked at the community statements, I'm like, you know, they're like, you know, they're just making statements that aren't even true, that maybe happened years and years ago. But that's my take on the community one. But overall, I mean, if you look at it, it's pretty good. And then this one right here is, when you look at the overall, I mean, it's pretty overwhelming that most of the people, majority of people, wanted to retain all 4 SROs. Like I've said before, I have to make 1,000 decisions every year. Most of them is on my 27 years experience in being an educator, and I do the best I can. And you know, I think I like to think my rate is good at making the right decision, but I do know that, you know, I make some wrong decisions and I try to make them right away. But this one's, for me, is a slam dunk. I mean, I work for the community, the parents, the students, the teachers, and all 4 of them for the second year in a row have said by a majority, we would like all 4. So for me, it's an easy vote for me. But I understand the polarizing effect that this vote has on people. And I am sympathetic to that. But for me, I mean, I think it's overwhelming.
I also want to add that last year when we talked about this, I know that there's 2 new teacher reps on the board and 1 new community rep on the board in the last year. But last year, when we talked about retaining the SROs or not retaining the SROs, one of the important parts were the students, and the kids were not in the building for you know, a lot of that year. And we said we would revisit the retaining the SROs when the kids were in the building and they could make an educated decision being around them and how they felt. Well, our kids haven't been in the building with the SROs in 2021 either. So that's a point where I just think that they need to have a say in how they feel about these things. And these kids don't. They have no idea because they haven't been with them. So that was something that we all discussed. And I know the new reps that are on the board now were in those meetings and heard, you know, the discussion. That's just one part of it besides the retention survey.
I'd like to thank the safety committee, because last year, July versus, and the decision that we had to make with 0 information, simply throwing out this vote to the LSC blind, and it was either a yay or nay. They either stay or they're gone forever type of vote without the information from the inside was so difficult and insanely unfair to everyone, the community, the students, the staff, the school. So I really appreciate this school safety committee, because I really feel like it's everyone from the inside and not just me, a mom sitting up the hill, you know, not knowing what happens inside the school. But I also like, as Bridget was saying in August, that CPS came out saying that they want to work on more restorative justice, and they're actually addressing the security issues. And I think this is a huge step forward. And next year at this time might be in a completely different place when this vote comes up again. So I just really want to say how much I appreciate it and how many hours I spent reading and researching everything you gave us. So thank you so much.
And just to clarify what Mark said about the comments, all the comments that were submitted were shared with the LSC. So we can verify what he's saying, that a lot of the comments were kind of off the wall as far as community input is concerned. So didn't really, match up with the things we've heard over the last few years with what's going on in the school. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we've seen all that information too.
I just had 2 points of information. I totally agree with Mr. Grishaber and Ms. Fern, being a person who's been working in both of our buildings for over 20 years, we are, a very safe school, right? Like the things that happen are for the most part teenage behaviors, right? Because they're humans and humans are not perfect. In preparation for this meeting and this vote, because I was not part of this safety committee, I was just reviewing all of the documentation that we've received from CPS and just everything related to this topic. I also think that we need to give credit where it's due as far as the safety of our school. We have a strong administrative team that works hard to keep our school safe. We have a strong security team at our school that keeps our school safe. And then in addition to my colleagues that are teachers, counselors, social workers, even in CPS's own written documentation about what the role of an SRO is, roles and responsibilities versus the roles and responsibilities of the school. The weight of keeping a school safe is on the actual school officials. Again, the people that I just listed are those who are responsible for keeping us safe. I mean, that's in their own documentation. So I just want to sort of give credit to all of the folks that do keep our school as a really safe school. But also I'm here as a teacher representative, and I can tell you both from the data from the survey that we saw, some of those graphs, as well as Mr. Plenster and I have reached out to our colleagues about the whole school safety plan. I just want to be clear, and again, this is as teacher representatives on the LSC, that the majority of the teachers that work in our buildings would prefer to see a whole school safety plan where we reduce the amount of SROs and use the money from CPS to put towards other elements of the whole school safety plan.
I'm just confused on the survey that went out for the teachers. There was what, 80? I don't have it in front of us, Kathy. It's not there, but was there 83 teachers that responded?
I'll pull that back up.
I have those numbers in my notes.
So how many responded to the?
There were 81 respondents.
Okay.
11 of them left that blank, the question specifically about SROs. 30 of them responded to keep the current numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and 41 of those asked to remove 2 or more. And again, Mr. Plenster and I separately have reached out to our colleagues, and 75% of those respondents have said they would like to reduce the number of SROs.
Do you have a feel for why more wouldn't have responded to the surveys?
Because it's the end of the 2020-2021 school year, and we get 1 million surveys. I mean, that's the same reason there were only 120 students who completed the survey. I mean, there was very low participation from all of the groups. There was also really low participation in the whole school safety committee meeting. There were a lot of folks that were invited, and only 8 people attended that meeting. So I think, again, it's a very particular school year. And I think adults and young people are,
Full.
I just remember the last vote was, there was an overwhelming, there was a lot of teachers who responded. I was just curious why you thought less of them responded this year, because last year it was, 80% of the teachers responded, and I think 60 some percent, I could be wrong in the exact numbers, but I think 60 some percent voted to retain the officers. I just wondered, why there was so much of a difference between 80% of the teachers and staff compared to 83 that responded this time. Just curious.
Our email boxes are very different than they were last year too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Your
We get
what?
emails on every little, it's a very different ballgame since we're operating basically you know, in a hybrid model.
I
A lot
understand.
of it is online. Yeah, I think that's probably what happened. But I'm not a doctor. Julieta said something in the chat that I'm very curious about.
It just doesn't,
If she wants to talk more,
it doesn't,
otherwise,
I
I'll
don't think
just-
she finished her thought here.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I'm having problems here now.
Go ahead, Julieta. What do you want to say?
How are you to you guys? No, I have sent a couple of emails to, we corresponded with the assistant principal, and they were very enlightening and learning, because all of you have been members of the LEC for 2019-20, and I'm really a fresh person because I just came in February, and I am not criticizing, I am only observing. On page 2 of the Taft document under teachers, I think that will make it a little clear to any reader if you identify if these teachers are special education teachers or bilingual ESL teachers, to enhance the richness of this document. So that will be one of the observations that I
Julieta, are you
have.
talking about the survey, or are you talking about the actual?
I'm looking at the actual document on page 2.
So you think there should be a differentiation between the teachers based on what their assignment is, whether they're special education or general education?
I
was just trying to. Okay, I was trying to understand that. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't finish because I'm using the cellular right now.
We're hearing you fine through your
One more
computer, I
question.
think.
Sorry, Kathy, go ahead,
Okay, go
finish. I just had one more question for the teacher, the survey, the second survey that you said you took out. I believe that went out Monday. Does that come from, does that go to their CPS emails, the teachers, or does it go to their home emails, or how did that survey go out?
The one on Monday, the way that we polled our colleagues?
Yes,
Is that what
exactly.
you're asking of?
Yeah.
Yeah, we sent to their personal emails.
Okay. What happened last year too is some people in the building sometimes feel like they're afraid to really, how do I put it, express their true feelings on things. And I think if they feel like they're not anonymous, their answers are not anonymous, maybe they're not always forthcoming with how they really feel. So that's just some feedback that I've gotten from people that I know in the building that, you know, I talk with in different times. So I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like maybe a teacher who received that email reached out to you, but I can also tell you that it was set as anonymous. It didn't collect names or email addresses. So
I understand. I'm just saying, yeah, I'm just saying that sometimes when it goes out from personal emails, there's a little more hesitation, and it's not just, I mean, it's several different comments I've gotten. I just wanted to put it out there too, which I'm sure you understand or probably are aware of too.
Yeah,
Did
we
you
have
think that they link to a Google Doc or something that didn't collect any information?
Yeah, how does that work? I don't know.
Yeah, that's how Google Docs, there's a setting where you can just set it so that it does not collect emails.
Okay.
The question I would have for Bridget and maybe Scott, and I'm not questioning the survey because I believe you. You're both trustworthy. I believe you. But I'm wondering, when I looked at the teachers' responses, many of the responses that came back said, spend that money on social workers, spend that money on SEL and stuff like that. And I'm wondering, had the question that you asked been the fact that we are already getting a social worker and we are getting an additional security guard, would that change your mind at all? And I wonder if that would have swayed some of the people, because I think that's really what everybody was going for. We need a social worker, and the fact that we have a social worker, I wonder if that would have swayed it. Scott, go ahead. Mike, I'm just questioning.
I'll tell you that oh, I was gonna say it, and then my phone keeps talking to me. Hang on.
I can help you for a second, Mr. Plinzer.
Thank you. I gathered my thought.
Mr. Grishaber, remember you shared the plan that Ms. Fern just went through, that whole document.
Oh yeah, okay.
That was shared with the staff, so our staff was aware of everything that's in that plan. So
okay, good enough.
So if they took the time to look at that, then they would be informed.
Okay, that answers my question then. Thank you.
Sorry about my phone there, guys. Yeah, I was gonna say, the way questions are worded can lead polls in one direction or another, no matter what. Yeah, that's just gonna happen. Yeah, that's why polls are polls, and you use them to advise you, but you might not use them to be your final decision. It's my opinion, but you can all do what you want.
Mr. Grishaber, there's a question in the chat, which I think refers to what you were just referring to, and maybe members of the public are not aware. Is there money already set aside for the extra security guards and social workers, counselors? And do people taking this survey understand the actual role of SROs in our buildings? So you maybe want to talk about how we do have money in our budget set aside right now for a counselor for next year.
Well, it's not a counselor, it would be a social worker. We've already got it on Taleo and we're getting applications. I think we probably have about 40 applications right now for the social worker. We haven't begun interviewing yet because it's kind of contingent on the approval of this plan. But I think there's a lot of people out there. I was surprised because I know that in the past there's been a lack of social workers. So the fact that we had that many really good resumes, I'm feeling confident about that. Money has been set aside already for this budget and then for future budgets too, because I don't just hire people for 1 year and let them go. So I'm taking this into account for future years that we're gonna always have a freed up social worker to help all the rest of our kids. And then also for the security guard too. Both of them are budgeted.
Okay.
Can I say one thing? I really just
Hang on 1 second, Chrissy. If anybody, we're going to open public discussion in just a moment. You're all limited to 2 minutes. So if you would like to make any comments, please put your name in the chat and identify yourself as a parent, student, teacher, community member, etc. And then I'll call on you in the order that I see you in the chat. Go ahead, Chrissy.
It really disturbs me that the whole topic of these conversations are SRO versus a social worker or additional services to the school. It saddens me that it has to be one or the other in these type of discussions. And I think our students and the school deserve both. And we should not be supplementing one for the other. We should be finding a way to bridge it and get everything the students need there. And I applaud us for doing a social worker this year and the additional security guard.
I agree. I don't like that we're being forced to make decisions. CPS put us in this position. It sucks.
Yeah, really quick too. It's like they stated if we were to get the money for the SROs, and like she said, even though it says they can reevaluate, what happens with you get rid of 2 SROs, you get the money, and then after that it's like, I mean, come on, we're talking CPS, we're talking city. We know how things go. I used to work for the city. It's, and then we gave up 2 SROs that we're not going to give back. And then, oh, well, now you're not getting any more money after that. And speaking as a parent at the school, I know that it's the administrative, I know it's the staff that's supposed to keep everybody safe. It's like our neighborhood. We all think we're safe. But, it takes one time for something to happen. And that's my concern, is because, yeah, Taft, of course, I live in Porridge Park, not far from Taft. And, I thought my neighborhood safe. And I'm very satisfied with my daughter at the school. But then what do you do when there's that one time when something can happen? And I know when we were having our safety committee meeting, Hector, if I'm not speaking out of turn, Hector said, I'd rather have them there and nothing happen than them not there and something happens. And it can happen. Trust me, it can. And just real quick second, I thought I was safe. I thought my family was safe in this neighborhood. And 2 years ago, my son-in-law, my 4-month-old grandkid were carjacked in front of my daughter's house, a block away from me at Montrose and Meade. So it can happen. And I don't want to have to worry about that with my daughter at that school or any other student at that school, that one time something happens. And I would think we need to work on the relationship between SROs and the police and the kids and educate them with that, instead of making them think it's a bad feeling around there, that it's not comfortable having police around. And I think we need to work on that. That's all I have to say.
And here's the other thing. I know Taft is still growing. It's going to continue to grow. I don't know when it's going to stop, if it's ever going to stop. So if we do remove any of the officers and we need more security, that's going to come out of our budget as we grow. So to me, it's not just police officers in the building, it's 4 extra security guards, adults, somebody the kids can go to I just don't look at them as their police officers. I look at them as their security. But it's a bonus to me that they are police officers. So we are growing. Things are changing. The city's crazy right now. There's a lot going on. I want everybody to be safe. And I don't have kids in the building anymore, but it's my responsibility for my community to do what I think they want. So that's where I'm at.
And as we gathered all that information last year, you know, we took a long time to find out exactly what the SROs did. I was happy to discover that they went through special program training to be SROs in the school, not just any officer can be an SRO. And there is a great relationship between Mr. Grishaber, the staff at the school, and the 16th district, the commander. It's a good conduit for working together as partners to make sure that our kids are safe and the neighborhood is safe. So
I'd like to make 3 points real quick, and I'll turn it over. But number one is if you're looking at precedent, I think you need to look at, and I believe I'm 95% true. I think this is true, but I believe the schools that voted not to retain their SROs last year did not get the option this year to get them back again and then cash them in. So if we think that's the precedent that was set last year. So if we think we're going to turn in officers and now we're going to get them back next year to get the additional 50,000, I believe the precedent has already set that when you get rid of an officer, there is no coming back around, go and collecting $200 again. That's the precedent that's out there. And I believe it's 95% true that I believe that's true. Number two is a teacher brought this to me. He said, Mark, this is the way I look at it. He said, if there was an event in the neighborhood with 3,000 people or 1,200 people, you know there'd be police officers at it. And that really put it in perspective. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I go to Edison Park Fest every year. There's not 3,000 people there, but I know there's 12 officers out there. And I know it's a different story, but people are people. And so I think we need to put that in perspective. And lastly is I know what everybody's saying about the security. And this is a double-edged sword because, you know, like I don't want people in the public thinking, oh, we need police officers that Taft has gangs and all. It's not about that right now. In my opinion, just stepping back as a human being on the Northwest Sider for 55 years, I believe that theoretically a society is better when they get along with their police department. I believe our police department has a black eye right now. I think everybody can agree with that. And I think the way you fix that is not to remove police officers. I think it's to show the next generation really good police officers and what they're like. And so I understand that the cards that I'm going to be dealt are probably going to be retention of police officers. And so we're already putting them into our plans as far as meeting with all the kids every year. They will meet with all of our police officers in the beginning of the year. They'll be part of every breakfast with the principal. We'll have our student focus and our voice committee, student voice committee. There'll be the police officers there. I want them on a first name basis. I don't want the one, I think a couple of good things have come out of this is it's kind of got shaken up. There was a day when I worked and I would ask them to do something and they would say back in the day, I don't work for you, Mr. Grishaber, I work for the police department. Okay, and I understood that, and I get chain of command. But now I think that they're more willing, and the training is that we are partners in this. And I think that's what came out of this is with the training, and especially with the restorative practices right now. Our police officers are wonderful police officers, and I think that ask any police officer, they're part psychologist, they're part social worker, they're part everything they need to be. So I just don't want people to think that they're going to be sitting there all locked offices all the time. I expect if we do get these police officers, they're going to be walking around and interacting with our kids. Last thing I'll say is I know my security officers are doing good, not if they're sitting against the wall watching the lunchroom, but if they're sitting against the wall and I got 5 kids up there talking with them and laughing and joking. That's how I know they're doing a good job because they built up the rapport. That's the last thing I'll say, and I'll respect the vote.
thank you. Okay, I don't see anybody in the chat that would like to comment during the public participation.
Kathy, can I just say one thing? I just had a thought, and I mean, I come from a police family, so I have a very different way of looking at police officers and I think they're a positive thing, like Mr. Grishaber is saying, but that's simply my opinion as a mother and a daughter of a police officer. And I realize people are going to disagree with that. And I see it as a positive. Just from a logistical standpoint, go back a few months to one of our facilities meetings. we're sitting and we're discussing the cameras around the school, and we're discussing some of the locks on some of the classroom doors. And we're discussing one of the exterior doors, all things which are going to be fixed in time, but aren't there 100% right now. And the what if and the if something should happen makes me feel better as a parent, having someone in the school, because I live up the street from Taft and I've lived in 16 my entire life. And I know their response time, and I'm the daughter of a police officer, and we are the most spread thin district that's out there. And it concerns me. Now, if we were all stable and in one place, but I do think we're getting better and we're moving higher, and there could be change in the future. But at this point, I think it's a slam dunk as well, but that is simply my opinion.
Well, the Taft was asked to put a whole school safety plan together, make recommendations, and the recommendations are there. So we either approve it or we start at square one. So anybody else have
Yeah,
anything
we're gonna
else they
call
want
for
to
a vote if, I don't see anybody who wants to comment during public participation, so we can perhaps get a motion to take a vote if someone wants to do that.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the Taft Whole School Safety Plan recommendation.
I'll second it, Maria.
Okay. Can we do a roll call vote, please? Ms. Keeling?
Okay, Anita Bernacki,
Yes.
Mary Kay Cobb,
Yes.
Julieta Pasco,
Yes.
Chrissy Estrada,
Yes.
Kathy Fern,
Yes.
Laura Keeling, I'm a yes. Maria McDormand,
Yes.
Bridget Doherty Trebbing,
No.
Scott Plensner,
No.
Amelia Mano,
No.
Mark Grishaber.
Yes.
At a vote of 8-3, yeses have it.
Great. I want to thank everybody for your thoughtfulness and taking the time to read all this material and collect data and opinions from the people that you work with. And I appreciate the discussions we've had and the, what word am I looking for? Not that word.
Sorry. Sorry.
The polite discussions and the work we've all done together. So
Respectable
respectful.
discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
That's what I'm working for.
Is there a spot for new business, Kath, or?
I did not put it on the agenda.
Okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. I just feel like if we can invite the new parent reps, can we send out a Survey Monkey or something? I know you're almost done and I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
But can we try to get them a meeting set up for just after you guys are done?
Yeah, I was going to do that.
Okay.
They were all invited to come today. I know one person said she had a conflict, but they were going to go ahead and watch the replay.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll take it to the next.
Thank you.
In the plan that we had put together.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I wanted to just one final time as we're here together to thank Kathy and to thank Chrissy, because I know how incredibly hard you have worked for Taft High School. And then also just a congrats to Kathy and Chrissy, because you are now the parents of recent grads. So thank you to you both and congrats to you and to your family.
Thank you so much.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I want
Second,
a second. I never get to second.
meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.